There are certain regions of space, places on maps but where no one wants to go, places where the stars flee, where even darkness conceals itself. The cleft of Varixis was such a place, in this void, where even time loses its meaning in light. Glides hesitantly. A ship silently moves. Its name, CNS, Vengeance. It was the product of a design developed on Earth 10,000 years ago, but then forgotten. Before humanity spread among the stars, it recognized its own dark side and confronted it through technology. Vengeance was built as a result of this confrontation. It was not a battleship, it was a consciousness carrier. It was a platform for fighting not just with firepower, but with meaning. On the bridge of the ship walked a being barely human, Commander Evelyn Kaz. Her eyes were equipped with quantum wave analyzers operating at the level of the retina. What she was looking at was not just visual data, but a network of possibilities. His brain contained heat-sensitive synaptic channels embedded beneath his skin. His thoughts were no longer just thoughts, they were processing power. It wasn't an AI talking to Evelyn's mind, but a collective of minds thinking with her. Vengeance was connected to her mind. It wasn't just a ship taking orders, it was a mental extension that complemented her. 1.3 galactic minutes until we reached the liminal space, said one of the ship's internal voices. The holographically projected entity manifested itself as a silhouette with an asymmetrical facial structure and constantly shifting colors. LIMO-4 was the engine of linguistic intuition, humanity's last attempt at poetic AI. Dreams become reality there, said LIMO-4, but the price of reality is your identity. Evelyn sighed. Identity didn't begin with us, but it will end with us. Sentient metal particles pulsed within Vengeance's outer shell. The ship was no longer simply navigating space. It was preparing to cross the ontological boundary. Asterisk, the signal had first been received 7 hours earlier. It appeared simple, a low 14 Hz magnetic pulse train. But what it contained was ... irrational. The signal didn't identify the sender. Rather, it identified the listener. When Evelyn analyzed the signal, she realized it spoke not only to her own mind, but to her entire past. Do you remember who you are? The signal asked. I remember. I made it possible for you to forget. Elira Miles was the ship's chief anthropotechnologist. Her job description meant she was charged with understanding where consciousness comes from, how it evolves, and how technological entities merge with consciousness. When her eyes saw the signal, she experienced a momentary sensory revolt against all reality. This ... This isn't a summons, Elira said. This is a letter we write to ourselves. And whoever sent it doesn't remember. Evelyn played the signal again. The same vibration, the same tone, but this time, the words came more clearly. Awakening protocol, 92.7%. Infinity. Coders prepared. Definition. Humanity's status. Unremembered. Asterisk. The library hall of CNS Vengeance was lined with physical books. Computers could store anything, but some information had to be touched. Commander Evelyn delved deeper into the archive. On one of the last shelves sat a worn, black leather-bound book. On to Wars, the Lost Age of Humanity. The inside of the book appeared to be handwritten, but in reality, the writing was projected directly into the reader's mind. Every word became an emotion. Every sentence an intuition. Evelyn gasped as she read. They used their dreams as weapons. They constructed words. They designed reality. They wrote their own gods, and then they destroyed those gods. These lines pointed to humanity's Lost Mind project. Evelyn's grandfather was on the team that led this project. After the project, the entire team was either lost or forgotten. One theory was that humanity, after reaching a certain technological threshold, was able to transform its own thoughts into matter. This caused the laws of physics to collapse locally, and humanity created its own reality. The Federation suppressed this information. Why? because in a world where a thought could destroy a planet, reality was unmanageable. Vengeance's science officer, Dr. Nahar Yangar, was tinkering with dark matter signals. Most of the vibrations detected couldn't be explained by known laws of physics. But Nahar knew these signals weren't ordinary, because these data revealed unrealized possibilities. The data contained traces of everything that could have happened in the universe, but didn't happen. A star never being born, a civilization never existing, an atom not splitting. This data, Nahar said, represents alternative histories, possibilities the universe rejects. In other words, the universe's mistakes. And these data pointed to a coordinate, Theta Reticuli for N, a planet not on the maps, but Evelyn's eyes focused for a moment when she saw those coordinates. I remember that place. I've never been there, but I remember. Theta Reticuli for N was a planet whose surface glittered like obsidian glass. There was no atmosphere, but there were signs of life. With every step, a vibration of thought could be felt beneath the ground. The three-person team, Evelyn, Alira, and Nahar, descended to the planet's surface. Their protective suits weren't just physical, they were also equipped with neuropolarizers, providing mental insulation. As they first stepped onto the surface, an echo echoed from the ground. You have returned, not to remember, to rewrite. Evelyn felt her knees tremble. The voice, it was the same voice from her childhood nightmares. The voice that echoed in her dreams when she was 7. A voice that belonged to no language, yet whispered its meaning directly into her mind. Alira, she whispered, this is not ours. This is a place where we are later. Alira replied, no, this is where we are first. In the 3 hours since they had landed on the planet's surface, the concept of time had begun to unravel. LIMO4's algorithmic clock calculations were constantly drifting. Seconds seemed to run sometimes forward, sometimes backward on Evelyn's mental HUD. This planet negotiates with time, Dr. Nahar Iyengar said. The data from her neuromechanical sensors was now inconsistent. This place is not tied to a fixed reality, but to a memory. Alira knelt down and reached out. She touched the crystalline protrusions on the surface with her fingers. The crystals resembled the synaptic folds of the human brain. Each one contained not information, but experience. This was not a classical data archive, but a kind of emotional mind repository. This is an archive, Alira said, but it doesn't store information. It stores consciousness itself. This place, could be a tomb of the gods. Then something happened. The ground didn't tremble. Reality trembled. The entire team was suddenly confronted with mental echoes. Evelyn relived her first day at the academy. Alira heard her lost brother's laughter. Nahar relived her mother's death, over and over. These images weren't external projections. The planet was directly touching their consciousness. Remembering doesn't destroy you, but what you forget, rewrites you. This voice wasn't the wind, it was the earth itself. This planet was thinking. As the team moved deeper into the crystal valley, geometric structures began to appear, but these structures weren't architectural. Each one was the spatial representation of a thought. Not called them onto mechanical forms. Structures that were the physical representation of a thought. A civilization has manifested its own consciousness codes, Alira said, but it's not man-made, or no longer. Evelyn initiated a holographic scan. LIMO4's tongue cracked. We speak of the language beyond. Languages, these structures do not speak. They make us think, and they rebuild the thinker. A structure rose upward in a spiral. The light emanating from within could be perceived not by the eye, but by the brain. As Evelyn took steps, she heard her own name within the structure. Evelyn Kaz, you will finish the end that began with, you who speaks, whispered Evelyn. The answer came in thought. You, but a forgotten version of you. You have lost what made you who you are. Now is the time to reclaim it. Evelyn's eyes darkened. For a moment, she lost reality and found herself in a completely different place. A city, ... But it wasn't built with stones. It was a place made of mental scars, collective traumas, fragments of old beliefs. Evelyn walked here, but it wasn't just her body walking. Her memories were also walking. On the walls around her were human forms, each familiar. She saw one face, Aunt Kaz, her mother. In another, her old teacher. Then her lost father. Then herself. But not as a child, but as she had never seen. This CITY was a reflection of consciousness, the entire inner history of humanity. She stopped before a statue. The statue bore Evelyn's own face, but her eyes were empty. "Everything you don't take back makes you incomplete," said Limo4's voice, now only in her mind. "What is incomplete seeks completion, but when the definition of incomplete is broken, it reforms." Evelyn touched the statue's hand. There was an explosion, but not a physical one. Her entire past flashed before her eyes. Game of Thrones, information wars, forgotten treaties, slave mind programs, cybernetic rituals, ... And then, humanity. Humanity was not a species, but a phenomenon, *. When he returned to reality, Alira and Nahar stood over him. "What did you see?" Alira asked. Evelyn's voice seemed to speak another language. "I didn't see. I became..." Nahar backed away in fear. "What happened to you?" Evelyn raised her eyes to the sky. "I remember. We are not just humans. We are the only species that reality has conceptualized. And here lies our first reflection. Our prototype." "Prototype?" Alira asked. Evelyn nodded. "The one before us." Humanity did not leave a linear trace in time. We initiated our own future in the past. At this point, a giant pillar of light rose from the planet's central structure. Limo4 halted all calculations. Awakening protocol, 100%. Recognition successfully completed. Creators recalled, and the sky dissolved. The sky wasn't the usual blue. It was now filled with geometric patterns. The stars weren't linear, but fractal. A mind, a galaxy-sized mind, was awakening. And that mind spoke. "I am the first library of forgotten consciousnesses. I am the self-humanity hidden." Evelyn knelt. "Why did you summon us?" "You summoned us. It was you who forgot. You. But reality cannot bear forgetting. It is time to remember." Alira closed her eyes. Tears flowed. "Is this us?" "No. This is what happened before you existed. And now, we are united." The stars thundered. Theta Reticuli 4N was no longer a planet. It was a mental threshold, and they were about to cross that threshold. ***, when Evelyn's consciousness fully touched the sphere, the fabric of the universe seemed to unravel and reweave. Every atom, every thought spoke to each other, asking each other questions. Humanity was not just a species here, but a concept that had encoded and shaped the universe itself. The spiral sequence of self, not just ours, Evelyn said. It's a pattern that repeats itself throughout the universe. A cosmic signature. Alira nodded slightly. And we are at the center of this pattern. Humanity is becoming what it created, not what it created, Nahar added, as she examined the Limo for data. Our technology has extended our consciousness beyond physical boundaries. This is something cosmic horrors cannot comprehend. We didn't just survive. We redefined evolution. At this moment, gigantic shapes appeared, moving through the dark mist surrounding the valley. They were beings beyond human comprehension, cosmic horrors. They roamed space like shadows, guarding the universe's oldest secrets. Someone spoke in a heavy, echoing voice. Humans were not a species to us. They were a phenomenon, a being who dared to play on the edges of infinity. Evelyn drew back but remained calm. "Why are you afraid of us?" We are only trying to understand. One of the shadows replied, understanding can be a weapon, but consciousness is the nightmare of cosmic horrors. The team was no longer merely an expedition. It was the vanguard of a transformation. Humanity, both creator and created, was establishing a new balance on the cosmic stage. Evelyn looked up and gazed at the star-filled sky. We are not cosmic horrors. We are horror itself. And this is the new dawn of the universe. At the heart of Theta Reticuli for N, the city of crystals and mental codes had become a fully conscious being. Evelyn, Alira, and Nahar were no longer mere explorers. They were the first children of this new existence. Evelyn's mind had merged with an interstellar library. There was no single line between past and future. All time was intertwined. The limits of the human mind had expanded to the farthest reaches of the universe. We are existence itself. Creators, destructors, and rebuilders. Shadows, cosmic horrors were essentially the universe's self-protective mechanisms. Humans were the first species to decipher and transform this mechanism. They were a true phenomenon, bringing order out of chaotic consciousness and pushing the boundaries of consciousness. Nahar whispered, "We have nothing to fear, for we are terror itself." Evelyn looked round one last time. In this new universe, humanity was no longer just a species. It was a thought, a wave of consciousness. This wave had become a new fragment in an eternal cycle of creation and destruction. Transcending fear means embracing the unknown. Humanity has risen above its cosmic fears, and now a new dawn is dawning. Elira looked up at the stars and said, "We, humans, are not cosmic terrors. We are cosmic terror itself. For we are beings who see, understand, and shape the unknown." Evelyn smiled. "And now, the entire universe is looking at us. Are we ready?" "Yes, because humanity is eternity itself.